Welcome to this presentation of the Adquio ecosystem updated to summer 2022. We will start with a brief history of our company. We started our activity in 2016, and during all these years until the current year we have not stopped developing both software and hardware. In the year 2021, the commercialization of everything in our products began, and to this day we continue to develop new products. In the year 2022, Adquio Screen, Adquio Server, Adquio Link and Adquio Cloud IA has been presented. We will see all of these below. In this year we have consolidated our international expansion. Today, Adquio has a presence in all these countries through our partners. Our main marketing distribution channels are these three. The first is manufacturers. Normally in the air conditioning sector, these manufacturers integrate our devices into their machines, allowing automatic control and connection via standard protocols to other devices in the facilities. Distributors bring our products closer to the market, being our link with installers and end users. And the integrators are the ones who integrate our products to provide solutions to the needs of their customers, normally as an interface between different platforms, as controllers for specific needs, etc. Let's begin then to see the basic concepts of our software and our hardware. The first thing we have to be very clear about is that within our products we have two very different parts. The first of these parts is made up of all the physical devices. And the second by our cloud software Adquio Cloud and Adquio Cloud AI, that it will allow you to study the data. We will see both the first and the second more extensively below. So, in the hardware part we have these devices. In the central part we can see Adquio Pro, Adquio Lite and Adquio Mini. Adquio Pro is our most complete controller. It includes inputs and outputs, both analog and digital. Inputs for probes includes an OLED screen, a keyboard, 4 Ethernet ports and 4 485 ports, as well as side expansions. Next, we have Adquio Lite that maintains the same connectivity as Adquio Pro. It also has 4 485 ports and 4 network ports, 1 WAN and 3 LAN, in addition to remaining also the lateral expansions. And finally in this section we have Adquio Mini, which is the most compact controller of the three. As we can see, it still maintains the 4 485 ports and a single Ethernet port. It is perfect for distributed installations and as a protocol converter. At the top we can see our Adquio server. It is a server in which we can adjust the power depending on the installation, and as a special quality it runs exactly the same software as the controllers Adquio Pro, Lite and Mini. We access it the same way, they have the same protocols, but it's designed for installations where it can control thousands or hundreds of thousands of devices. Next, to your right we have the Adquio Micro Server. This device is an Intel NUC and is designed exclusively for the North American market. It is all certified and can really be installed in any country in the world as it has all the certifications to do so. As in the previous case, it runs the same software as Adquio Pro, Lite and Mini. Therefore, it has the same user interface and retains the same Ethernet-based protocols. And finally in this section, we have Adquio Link. Really Adquio Link is not hardware like its peers, but it is a programmable controller like any of the ones in this section, but it runs in the cloud. What it allows is to connect systems that are also in the cloud, as for example the Casambi API with the BMS. Okay? The advantage of this product is that it allows you to make connections between different systems without the need to install any physical device. In addition, it also has the additional advantage that the power of this device is adjustable according to the needs. Therefore there are cases in which its power can be similar to a controller such as Adquio Pro Lite or Mini, or if necessary, we can adjust its power so that is greater than a physical Adquio server. Okay? For very large installations it is also suitable as long as we work with APIs that are on the internet. Next, to your left, we have our Adquio Screen Casambi Gateway. It is an HMI device, that is a human interface that allows control of the installations on site. Then we will see that it can run both the Casambi software and an alternative HMI that allows us to have total freedom in the design of the interfaces. On top of this, you can see our industrial screen that maintains the same characteristics of its previous sister but of 12.1 inches, and adds properties for industrial environments such as an IP65 certification for its front, a casing made of steel and aluminum, an external antenna for a better Wi-Fi and Bluetooth coverage. It is also designed to be embedded in a panel. To the right of the controllers we have our Adquio Cloud and Adquio Cloud AI BMS software. Then we will see all the features of these two BMS. In the lower part, we have our expansions that are compatible with the Adquio Pro Lite and Mini controllers, and that allow us to add inputs and outputs of any type, analog, digital, input for probes, relays, etc. So let's get into the technical aspects of all of our controllers and BMS software. We will start with the hardware, looking in detail at each of our controllers. Next, we will dedicate some slides to our software. Later, we will see the important points that differentiate our controllers from others on the market. And finally, we will make a brief tour of the interface of our Adquio controllers and our BMS Adquio Cloud. So let's start with the hardware. In this section, we have all our controllers: Adquio Pro, Adquio Lite, Adquio Mini, Adquio Microserver, and finally Adquio Server. Let's look at each of them separately. We will start then with Adquio Pro. It is the most complete of our devices, because it has integrated inputs and outputs, as well as a screen and a keyboard to carry out basic functions, such as changing the IP address, checking which IP it is on, network data, reboot the computer, etc. And additionally, when it is at rest, it shows the states of the digital inputs and outputs. So let's take a look at its hardware specifications, and we're going to see them quickly and in detail. First, we are going to go from right to left on the connectors, and then we will see the data of this upper screen and the indicators and LEDs that they have. So we start from the far right. We have 7 analog outputs from 0 to 10 volts. The bottom connector is the 24-volt power connector. Then in position 3 we have a ground connection for the connectors that have the sides analog. They all need a reference that they can take from here by proximity. Then we have 7 analog inputs from 0 to 10 volts, or they can also be configured as digital. Logically, they are from 0 to 24 volts. In the lower part we have 4 485 ports protected against power surges and spikes, and later we will see that they support the BACnet MSTP and Modbus RTU protocols. At the top of these ports we have connection for up to 4 2-wire PT-1000 probes. Then we have in the part of the LEDs. In position 7 we have the error indicator, the network activity indicator, the 485 bus activity indicator, the internet connection indicator, and the power indicator. The old screen is a 128 by 64 pixel screen and has 21 characters and 8 lines. And we have a 6-key keyboard, the escape key, the OK key to move through the menus, and 4 arrow keys to go up and down through the menus or to move through editing fields. On the other side of Adquio Pro we have 10 digital power outputs of 24 volts, and we say that they are power outputs because they are specifically designed to be able to directly move relays or contactors, OK, directly from here without an intermediate relay. At the bottom of these we have a USB 2.0 port, so we'll see what we use it for. At point 3 at the bottom we have a slot for a micro SD card that supports up to 128 GB, but a 32 GB high resistance card is inserted from the factory. Next to your left we have a 100 megabit network port, which is our WAN to connect to the internet. On top of this we have 10 protected 24-volt digital inputs. And then below that we have 3100 megabit Ethernet ports that we configure as LAN. This LAN is used to connect to other devices in the electrical panel. And then at the top we have 3 ground sockets worth 0.7 that is marked here. We have 3 GND sockets as we mentioned earlier. Adquio Lite. It is designed for installations where there are already other controllers, and our device connects above them to collect their data both via Ethernet and via ports 485, with the Modbus or BACnet protocols, and upload them to our cloud, or to the BMS that the client needs. That is why we say that it is perfect for integrations with other systems. Let's see what connections it has. On this side it has, at point 1, the power supply, as in the previous case, is 24 volts of direct current. Below you have the 4 485 ports with Modbus and BACnet support. At the top, we have at point 3, the error indicator, the network activity indicator, the port 485 activity indicator, the internet connection indicator, and the power indicator. If we turn it over to the other side we have the USB 2.0 port, then we will see what it is used for. The expansion slot, as in the previous case, with support for up to 128 GB on a micro SD card, and a 32 GB high-strength micro SD card is inserted from the factory, as I already told you. Next we have the 100 megabit WAN port, and 3100 megabit LAN ports. Also, as in the previous device, we have an expansion connection on both sides, and we admit up to 4 devices on each side. The Adquio Mini. It is perfect for distributed installations. We will talk about this later. It is perfect as a protocol converter because it is a small device, and logically as a protocol converter the smaller the better, and we also say that it is perfect as a data collector because, as we will see later in the distributed installations, is a very suitable equipment precisely for this to function as a data collector of a zone, a plant, etc. Let's see its details. We start at point 1 with its 4,485 ports, with support for Modbus and BACnet protocols, just like its two predecessors. Next we have the error indicator. At point 3 we have a LED that tells us that the device is connected to the internet. And finally on this side we have the power LED. On the other side we have, at point 1 the 24 volts direct current power connector. Next we have the Ethernet port that allows you to connect to the internet or to other devices in distributed installations. And finally, we have a USB port where an external storage medium is always inserted that allows you to store data in case of loss of internet connection. Adquio Microserver is one of our most recent products. This product was created to meet the needs of our customers in the North American market. Our range of controller products are not all certified at this time and were therefore not valid for operation in this territory. Adquio Microserver has come to solve these problems, as it is a device with all the necessary certifications for any country in the world, including the United States. This product is delivered with the Adquio software pre-installed and retains its most interesting specifications, such as: it has a powerful and friendly web interface, remote work without complications, direct access from the BMS Adquio cloud platform, programming in JavaScript, compatibility with BACnet IP, Modbus TCP, MQTT and Casambi API protocols. Valid for Casambi installations and as a data collector for the BMS Adquio cloud platform and Adquio Cloud AI. Adquio Server is our most powerful physical programmable controller. Based on a standard Dell server, we can choose the most suitable capacity and power for each project. We have chosen it for its worldwide presence and support. It is necessary when there are thousands of control points in an installation and a programmable controller falls short. This server can manage installations with thousands of control points for lighting, air conditioning, access, etc. in any industry. This equipment is perfect for its flexibility. You can run Adquio software with all its benefits, and with much more capacity than its DIN Rail siblings. In addition, if the client requires it, they can run the local version of our BMS Adquio Cloud. If you have an installation with several tens of thousands of lighting points or hundreds of connected devices, Adquio Server is the best option to control them all and also feed your BMS Adquio Cloud or Adquio Cloud AI. With this we finish the review of all our hardware products. Let's start now with the software. Adquio Link is a virtualized version of our Adquio controllers and also runs in the cloud. This allows us to choose the power that we will assign depending on the project to which it is applied. But why does Adquio Link exist? Adquio Link is created for cases where it is necessary to collect information from an API and deliver it to a BMS such as Adquio Cloud, and both run in the cloud. Instead of using a physical device that downloads data from one cloud platform and uploads it to another cloud platform as well, it makes much more sense to have this process run entirely in the cloud. That is why this service was born. A good example of them is a Casambi installation with access through its API in the cloud and our Adquio Cloud platform. Since both run in the cloud, Adquio Link is the perfect complement to carry out that communication between the two. In general, any platform that has this functionality is suitable for the implementation of Adquio Link. Let's see then its characteristics. Same characteristics of the Adquio controllers. Same interface. Same protocols. Same access mode. Adjustable power depending on the project. Adquio Link, your first virtual programmable controller. Let's then go on to see the characteristics of Adquio Cloud in more detail. It allows us to organize all the information of the facilities. It allows us to do remote control of our facilities through SCADAs. It allows us to design both real-time and historical graphs of our facilities, very attractive looking and very powerful graphs, with any number of ranges, any type of graph like the ones we are seeing in the images. The interface of this BMS is fully customizable according to the needs of our client. We can create all the graphics that he needs, we can arrange them in menus exactly tailored to our clients. It allows us to connect securely to our facilities and access remotely simply by clicking on a link. And another important part of our software is that all training is available for free on our website, both in text and video. It is also available in Spanish and English. Next we are going to see the characteristics of our Adquio Cloud AI. The first thing we have to point out is that Adquio Cloud AI is nothing more than an extension of Adquio Cloud. Of course, it retains all the features that we have just seen and additionally incorporates an artificial intelligence, This artificial intelligence allows us to monitor the facilities automatically, launching alarms when a value is outside its usual range, etc. Let us then see the advantages of this system. The first thing is that it allows us to monitor our facilities 24/7 without human intervention, saving us a significant cost. In order to function, this intelligence needs to learn from our installation. You need about 2 months of data from our facilities to be able to train. In addition, Adquio Cloud AI includes personalized and automatic reports that arrive in our email in PDF with the frequency that we have configured. This service is billed monthly based on the number of variables, and has an initial fee for training the artificial intelligence. Okay, so let's start with the key points. Let's see why you like Adquio. Let's talk about its connectivity. Let's talk about your safety. We will also talk about its opening. Let's also see what Adquio provides you. And what are the advantages for your developers? We start then because you like Adquio. First of all our Adquio DIN Rail devices work with a 4-core ARM processor. This provides us with a much higher power than practically any other programmable controller on the market. If we compare it with traditional controllers, an ARM processor is several hundred times higher in power than the microcontrollers that use them. Next, since we have a very powerful processor, we can run a full GNU Linux operating system on each of our devices. This means that we have the power of a desktop computer packed into a programmable controller in the electrical panel. We are going to see below what advantages an operating system of this type provides us. First of all, it is capable of working with a programming language as popular and accessible at the moment as JavaScript. It is an open language, it is a free language, and above all, it is a very easy language to learn. The local storage of is the same in all DIN Rail Adquios. They carry 32 GB on a high-endurance micro SD card, as you can see in the image, and it supports up to 128 GB if necessary. We say that our devices are very easy for users, because no external software is required to use them. The devices have a web interface and you only need to work on that web interface. You can reach this web interface by connecting any device with a web browser, a laptop, a tablet, etc. With any operating system. You can connect using an Ethernet cable or connecting to the Wi-Fi that all Adquio controllers have integrated in an internal access point. Regarding the speed and performance of our devices, we work with a cache memory, and I will explain what this is for. Programmable controllers sometimes have a handicap, which is that when the program needs the value of a variable, it will need to fetch it from the device that provides it. So, if we reach that device through a bus that is not very efficient, such as Modbus at a slow speed, at 9,600 or 19,200 bauds, what this means is that it will take a few fractions of a second to obtain this variable for that device. We have to poll it, that query has to go to the right device, the device has to fetch the information and it has to send it back to our device. So that the main program that runs in Adquio does not have to wait for these variables, Adquio works with 2 independent modules, one for communications through the 485 buses and through the Ethernet ports, and another programming module that is where the scripts run. And between them there is this cache. So the buses are all the time collecting data from the devices they have connected, and the last variables they read are left in this cache. When the main program needs to read a variable, it only has to look for it in this buffer. It never has to wait for the buses. Therefore, the main program can always run at full speed, without waiting for queries on the buses. Right? This is very important, which is why Adquio has such good performance and is capable of working with thousands of variables simultaneously. All our controllers in the Adquio range are designed to work always connected. In cases where a wired network cannot be used, which would be ideal, they also work perfectly with 3G and 4G networks. We have a series of modems approved to work with Adquio, that connect to its WAN port, and obtain the internet connection through this cellular network. This is not a problem, since Adquio is perfectly prepared to withstand internet connection cuts and store data locally while it cannot upload it to the cloud on that micro SD card that we mentioned earlier. We have already said that all the controller devices of the Adquio range of DIN Rail have an integrated access point, which generates a Wi-Fi, and with any device with a browser, we can connect to that Wi-Fi and work on the device. The 4 ports 485. Here the first thing is important to know that other controllers on the market never have so many ports, but are limited to 1 or 2 485 ports. What this gives us is the ability to connect up to 1,000 devices, because each one supports up to 250, about 1,000 devices on a single controller, and we can use Modbus RTU or BACnet MSTP protocols. We have our own communication protocol. And this, contrary to being a problem, that it is its own protocol, is an advantage for our clients, because what it allows is that a series of Adquios in the same installation work together as if they were one. They connect via Ethernet, through their network ports, and can work with the variables of all the devices from a single device. We simply decide which is the master, and that device that we have considered as master will have all the variables of the other devices, and will be able to work as if it were a single device. This is perfect for installations where there are many points to collect data, such as hotels. It is a very typical example, in which an Adquio Mini is installed on each floor and that Adquio Mini manages all the home automation scenes of all the rooms on that floor. Sends to that main Adquio only the data that is relevant to upload them to the cloud, or that is relevant to make the programming in the main device. But it is very feasible to also do individualized programming in each of the slave devices. In the case of the hotel example, the home automation scenes of the rooms on each floor are managed by the Adquio of that floor, not the main Adquio. As for security, the devices that have more than one Ethernet port, which are Adquio Pro and Adquio Lite, have a firewall. This prevents any internet attack from entering the internal network. This firewall limits all access from the internet to the interior of the devices. All communications are made through secure tunnels or protocols. All devices at the electronic level have protection against overvoltages and protection against inversion of polarity in the supply. And this is a very crucial point that other controllers cannot do. Our devices can be seamlessly updated over the internet, both in security updates and in system updates and new features. This allows the devices to be updated with the latest features, new protocols, and new languages. You can manage all the alarm signals. Adquio is designed to manage facility alarms and transmit them to our cloud platform, so that it can send them via email to the appropriate recipients. Depending on what we have configured, it can both manage the alarms that the Adquio device itself generates by programming, when events occur that the client has decided should generate an alarm, and it can retransmit alarms from other devices in the installation, to keep those maintenance responsible informed that something is going on in your installation. All this information is done immediately, and arrives in a matter of seconds by email to the appropriate recipients. Regarding the opening of our devices, by using a GNU Linux operating system, we can connect to any SQL server. We only need it to be supported under GNU Linux. This means that we can connect to any API. Logically you need a studio, an independent development for those APIs, but there is always that possibility. Additionally, we can transfer all the information that Adquio manages, in variables, in devices, in modules, etc. We can transfer it through an API REST. Anyone from the outside can consult Adquio through a REST API and interact with it, not only reading variables, but also changing their value from the outside. The training is fully available on our website for free. Anyone who wants to train in Adquio can do so simply by registering at no cost. Right now, we have all the training both in text. We have a complete Adquio reference manual, as well as in training videos, where both the programming aspects and the web interface aspects of both Adquio and Adquio Cloud are explained. All content is available in English and Spanish. Let's see what Adquio provides you. On the one hand, it makes remote work easier for you. As Adquio is always connected to the internet, you don't need to be near the device to program it. You can be anywhere that has an internet connection, and from there you can do absolutely everything that Adquio can offer you remotely. Well, now we are going to see the web interface of Adquio. As we have already mentioned that everything is done through a web interface, we are going to switch to our Adquio. To enter Adquio, we must logically identify ourselves. And we are going to see that this device takes a little while to load the list of variables, because it is working with 5,410 variables. Okay, this list is loading absolutely all of them. So, let's review the web interface. At the top, we have the user with whom we have logged in. We can choose the language. Today, Adquio can work in English, Spanish and French. Below we have access to the manual. And then, we have the date and time of that device. This is important, because logically this device will be working in the time zone of the country in which it is installed. So it does not have to be the same as our current time, right? But it will correspond to the country in which it has been installed. Next, we have the Adquio logo, and above all very important, the version in which the software is, 1.10 in this case. Okay, so let's see what the interface is made of very quickly. So, first we can see that we have here a menu that we can display or not. In this case we are going to leave it displayed, so that it is easier to see it. We have already seen then, that when entering any Adquio, the first thing you see in the main window is the list of variables, and you see that some of them are blinking in yellow, because those variables are being changed at this time. Then every time there is a change, to highlight that change, the values that change are marked in yellow. So let's see what options we have in the menu. The first option is the variable option, which is where we are. Next we have the option of devices and modules. We will start with the modules because we are higher in the hierarchy, and these modules are a kind of drivers. These drivers are used to connect with different protocol SAN through different ports of our Adquios. For example, here we can see a BACnet 485 module that will work through Adquio's 485 ports. In this case we have 4 Modbus 485 module SAN, each one working on port ONI on port 2 and port 3 at port 4. OK? Each protocol and each port will have an associated module. The devices will belong to this module. Each device must have a module, here its connection driver with the outside. OK? The devices are going to be all the devices that we have connected to our Adquio. See that in this case it takes a while to load the list because it is loading several thousand devices. It is a hotel in which we have 400 rooms with more than 10 variables each room. As you have seen previously, therefore we have around 4,000 or so variables. We have sensors, we have room thermostats. In this case we have a lot of room thermostats in each of these devices. You can provide us with a series of variables to access your variables. We would do it here. OK? The variables of that device are already being loaded from among all these. In this case it has 10. Next we have the export option. This option allows us to export through Modbus TC-PAN, allows us to select at the bottom which variables we want to use to export. It would allow us to select from all the variables that Adquio is managing, selecting individually or selecting all of which we want to export. In programming, we have calendars, scheduled events and periodic events. As we saw when we talked about events, Adquio can manage calendars in a very simple way, and at the same time it can associate scheduled events to these calendars to execute code on those events. And periodic events that can be repeated every so often. EAK time equals 0.1 s, greater than from seconds, up to years. OK? Then, we have the script section, which is the section where we are really going to program, and here we have several examples. We are going to enter any one of JavaScript code, right? We have a code part, and we have a log part, which is where we can put debug messages, where we can see syntax errors, and so on. Next we have the alerts. This is where all the alerts that Adquio generates are collected, and which have obviously also been sent to the cloud platform and which will have reached the recipients by email. Here we can check those that are still active, or the last that have been managed. Data collections. These are the data collections that Adquio has not yet uploaded to the web platform. System. We have general, where we can see generic data of this facility. We have the option of device server, which is the way in which they are connected so that several Adquios work together as if they were just one. We have the network information. In this case there are DHCP or a fixed IP, we have the DNS servers, and so on. We have the configuration of the Wi-Fi access point. We can turn it on and off. We have the MQTT broker. If we are working with this protocol, we must have it activated so that it works as if it were an MQTT broker. We have the configuration of expansions. Adquio can have several expansions connected on the sides. As you already know, in the event that we connect a new one, an expansion will appear here, and a button that allows us to adopt or incorporate that expansion, simply by clicking OK. In storage, we have control of the storage, as we have seen previously. Here you have a microSD card, and from here we could change it, format it, and prepare it to continue working with Adquio. In cloud, we have the information of this device with respect to the cloud, and in this case we have here the identifier, and we have the status if we are connected to the cloud correctly or not. We have backup and restoration. Although Adquio automatically makes backup copies to the cloud, it also allows us to download a backup copy through this option, and if we want to restore it on another device, to make a complete copy of this device on another, or have it of backup in case this device arises some incidents, to be able to restore all its configuration in a new device. And we have the option of logically restarting and shutting down the system. Very good, because with this we have finished seeing Adquio, and then we are going to see the Adquio Cloud Web Interface. To get to the Adquio Cloud Interface, we will go to the page adquio.com and we will go to the Cloud option. We will go to the Customer Access. Here we can see all the characteristics of Adquio Cloud. OK? And we have a button to access the interface of Adquio Cloud, the cloud platform. as I have already mentioned before, it allows to exploit all the information collected by the controllers, through graphics, SCADAs, reports, etc. Very well. Here we can see some of the clients who have allowed us to show their data in presentations, and to do this example, we are going to enter our own facilities, we are going to go to our company, our current premises, and we are going to see the basic things first of the interface. At the top, as before, we have the user who has entered this facility. The date for the system. What language the interface is in, it is also available in Spanish and English. And then we have the alarms, which come from Adquio. The export of reports in PDF. And in what mode we are? In client mode, seeing the options that have been developed for it. Or in configuration mode, where we can generate all kinds of graphics, SCADAs, etc., and place them on pages for the client to see. So, let's see the configuration options. And the first thing we have are devices. We are not going to go into detail about each one, but we are going to mention them, so that you can see what they are. For the devices, are all the devices with which they are working on the web platform, and that are imported directly from the Adquio of the facilities. Virtual variables. They are variables that do not arrive from the devices, but that we have created using the variables that do arrive from the devices, and making calculations on them. Scripts is something quite curious on the cloud platform, because they are scripts that are programmed here, but are executed in the Adquio controllers of the facilities. They are normally used to generate personalized alarms when something happens that the client wants to control. The tunnels. They serve to do what we had previously mentioned, to act as a gateway to other devices that are in the facility. Through these tunnels we can reach those devices, and use them as if we were in our own office. In graphics. We can create any type of graphic, then we will see some examples because now it would be too long to explain all the possibilities of these graphics. Data tables. In data tables, we will configure interactive data tables, which means that they can show data both in real time, which comes from the facilities, as well as historical data. Okay. It can even be data in real time that allows us to act on them in the report itself, by clicking and changing a set temperature, changing the status of lights, etc. The SCADAs. Well, the SCADAs, as their name suggests, are graphics. Then we will see an example, where we upload a plan, or an image of a building, a machine, etc. And on it, we place controls, such as see content variables of that device, that building, or even put controls that allow us to act, change temperatures, turn lights on and off, etc. The anomaly detector configuration option is part of the artificial intelligence that our full version has, which would not be Adquio Cloud, but would be Ecos, and that allows us to automatically recognize anomalies in the data that are arriving. That of the installation, and can even launch automatic alarms when any of these anomalies occur. In the page configuration, it is where the person who is designing the interface for the client creates the pages, and within these pages he places everything that we have just seen before, the graphics, the SCADAs, the reports, etc. And the configuration of reports, it is precisely for these reports that can be generated automatically, configure how and to whom we send them automatically, and with what frequency, right? Let's then see an example of all this that we are talking about, already in a client interface, set up so that he can see information. Then we are going to first see an example of electrical network analyzers, where we have graphics that allow us to see, well, this is a weekend, a day's activity, the night, the day, the night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which is where we are today. Right? So, at the bottom, as you can see, you can put many ranges on the same chart, and it allows us to make charts as complete and attractive as this one. In the lower part we have simpler graphs, in this case of consumption in kilowatts in the month, the difference in each day, and so on. Then, we have air conditioning data, and in this case, it is a good example of a data table. We are going to see that it takes a while to load because there is a lot of data, as you can see, and it is bringing it in real time from the device, and we have data that they are read only, and as you can see the ones in blue, they are data that I can modify at this time. Right? At this time the premises of this building are at 23 Celsius degrees, and the entire air conditioning system is in operation. We have in this window then, the data of all the air conditioning machines in the building, and on the other hand, we have here the lighting data. We see that there are areas of this building that are on, and areas that are off, and we have a graph here, which shows us the on and off of each of these lighting lines. And at the bottom, we have control of the stores in this building. This building does not have a blinds, but stores, and they are also controlled from here, simply by putting a 1 here. We could upload this store, okay? And putting 1 here we could lower it. All of them have automatic end of stroke control, etc. so that there is no type of problem, and it tells us the position in percentage of how those sectors are at this time of being raised or lowered. The general visualization, we have an example of a SCADA, in which we can see on the one hand, the electrical consumption of each of the analyzers that we have in this building. In this case there are 5. We can change the lighting states of each of the units on this floor of the building. This is the ground floor, it has more floors, so we have decided that the lighting is divided into 2 states, the main state, which is with all the lighting on for normal work, and the service that turns the lighting to 50%, which is used for cleaning, right? We are not going to change anything at this time, because we will be acting on a real device. Very well. And in addition to the lighting we can manage the temperature. In this case it tells us that this dependency is at 22 degrees. If we click on it, we can see that the set temperature is at 21, and that at this time it is a little above the set temperature. We could set it to 20 if we want to be cooler, or set it to 23 if we are cold. Right? Also, we have some example buttons here, that allow us to jump to other SCADAs, right? Here, they are not very well ordered or placed, but we could put a building here, and put a little button of these on each floor, to jump to the SCADA of each of those floors. So let's get out of here. We have some more examples of thermal comfort, in which we can see graphs of different types, of each of the areas of the company. Right? In the control of efficiency, we have control of energy efficiency, graphics that make us this control. As you can see, the graphics never have a lack of data, they are always correctly fed, thanks to this characteristic of Adquio that if the internet connection is lost, they store the data, and when you retrieve it, upload it so that these graphs are always complete. Okay, we can also make pie charts. In this case it is telling us how the company's consumption is distributed. Well, like this, we have made a superficial view of the Adquio cloud platform. As you can see, we can see graphs of any type, of information that comes to us from the facility. Any type of graphs, bars, cakes, filled lines, or not. Like this one, with multiple overlapping ranges. We also have reports and SCADAs, which allow us to observe information about the installation, and interact with it, both from a report and from a SCADAs. Very good. Well, with this we have finished watching this presentation, in which we have seen the basic data of our controllers, and our Adquio cloud platform. We say goodbye. We thank you very much for your attention, and here you have our contact emails, both mine, which is the lower guillermo.cuervo@adquio.com, and that of my colleague Alfonso from the commercial department. In either of the two you can request more information.